Hello, gamers, and welcome to Xbot and Pony, the show where every week Nick and I just go through a bit of the news, what's been happening, and we put our little spin on it. This week has obviously been a little bit Sony dominated, but it seemed that the drama didn't come from the conferences itself, but everything that came afterwards. So, Nick, why don't you start us off, man? What have been the internet being civil and arguing about in polite ways?
Well, it's a cesspool of hate, really. I'm going to try my hardest to not make anything sound fanboyish or anything like that. Just stick to the facts and we can just
let it out. I can
personal
see it.
opinion and Sony sucks. No, I'm just kidding.
Down with Xbot.
The biggest issues is transparency is what I'm going to say. So there's a lot of people out there saying lies, liar, liar, liar. I don't want to go down that path. That's just silly. You're being a bit over the top. It's transparency, and one company has been very transparent and kind of kicked in the guts for it at times, and the other company's been mum on everything they're doing. It's business. This is what we always forget. We really do forget that this hobby of ours, these companies, they run a business, and it's all about money. So the talk at the moment is...
Sorry, man. I'm slightly distracted. Just to warn you, in any second now, you're going to hear a big bang. And I've got my cat up in the cupboard, and he's looking down. He's planning his route. So just to warn you, there's going to be a thud.
He's jumping. He's jumping.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Go on.
No, you're all right. You're all right. I was worried something was about to attack you or something.
Pretty much. He's a Black Panther. You know, he's going to come for me. Yeah.
Basically, the biggest talking point was probably PlayStation 5 games only being on PlayStation 5, and then they didn't announce even at the conference during the showcase that Spider-Man, what was the other one? Horizon, which is the big one. Like, Spider-Man's not a surprise to me.
And Sackboy's Adventure.
And Sackboy. And again, Sackboy is not a surprise to me either. That they're coming to PlayStation 4. So we kind of had this discussion before, and everybody's having this discussion. About cats jumping from cabinets. Everybody's talking about the cats jumping. If it's not Garfield, it's one of them.
I can't wait for the comment section. Our one comment of the week is going to be about a cat.
It will be. Yeah. Why can't I see the cat? I want to see more cat. You guys are boring.
Go on. Do you want to see the cat?
Of course they do.
Have you seen Garfy? There you go. Aww.
Black Panther.
Beauty. Black Panther, definitely. May he rest in peace. Sorry, so you're right. Yeah. So there's obviously a bit of a turnaround in terms of the messaging that, they were saying that as far as they're concerned, next gen is next gen and we're moving on. Microsoft got a little bit of flack for saying, we're going to keep supporting it for a couple of years. And, and I don't know, in the past I've voiced my concern a little bit about it.
Well, Halo, and it did look like, and from a technical standpoint, if you're not a technical person, how does this hold back? And we've seen developers pop up and say, yeah, it does. And we've seen others pop up and say, no, everything scales now. It's not like before. Yes, before it did. Now we're kind of on PC level where, people kind of forget that as bad as this, Spider-Man coming to PlayStation 4 might be, the PlayStation 4 is still powerful than most third-party games that are being made for PCs.
Yeah.
So something like Godfall on the PlayStation 5, the minimum specs for PC are pretty much equivalent to a PlayStation 4. So Godfall could actually be on the PlayStation 4 because it's running a PC of equivalent. So it's just silliness. It really is. So there's other Sony fans out there that are really disappointed. They're really disappointed because they wanted Spider-Man, they wanted Horizon to take full advantage of the PlayStation 5, its SSD drive, and be the true next-gen experiences they are. They want to spend
that. Going.
But they can't really they can't ignore 110 million people, can they?
No, they can't.
Can you really ignore 100? Like I said it to you before in a previous video when you had some concerns about the whole cross-gen thing, but cross-gen's always happened. It just didn't really happen with first parties. Now it is happening with first parties. Microsoft cop flack, Sony's doing the same thing. Good on Sony. I'm happy for Sony to do this. It's a good thing. Some people might be a bit disappointed. You're a little bit disappointed because you thought Spider-Man would just be 100, take full advantage of that hard drive and that. It seems now it's not going to. Ratchet and Clank probably will. We haven't seen that announced for PlayStation 4. It'll take advantage of the SSD. It looks amazing. That's the true next-gen experience, probably coming early next year. I don't think it's a bad thing. What do you think, though?
No, but like we've discussed this a little bit before, and I think and certainly my position's evolved on this a little bit since then. I think my concern at the time was that it seemed to be saying, based on what Sony was saying, that they were moving on and they were not going to worry about PS4 at all. And Xbox was saying, oh no, we're going to keep going for the next 2-3 years, and it's got to be able to play on the VCR Xbox, right?
Yes.
So I think the discussion around the time was, okay, is that going to put an extra strain on developers who've got to be able to put everything on PS5 and Series X, but also cater to the lowest performing console, right?
It was just X, it'd be okay, but going all the way back to the VS, it changes the dynamic. Yeah.
But now that they're saying, okay, some of these games are going to be supported on PS4, that means that all developers, in theory, are kind of on the same level playing field, right? So that means that everyone is progressing at that speed. So I feel a little bit better about it now. So I think my position's changed, certainly.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually probably good for Switch if developers are still 100%. Used to working on that sort of that level for a couple of more years. That means there's still going to be some support for Switch as well, even with next gen. And honestly, just purely personal, I was unable to get a pre-order for PS5. Like the moment that they came out, and we will talk about this in a second.
Yeah, we'll dive into that.
In Australia, they were gone in like 2 hours. Our local EB Games today, when I went in there to pick up Mario, they tried to get me to pre-order PS5 for 2021.
With no date, just 2021.
No date, just it will be at some point in 2021. So because even if I wanted one, I couldn't get one. I'm quite happy that I'm still going to enjoy some of those games. So I'll get to enjoy Miles Morales. I'll get to enjoy Sackboy's Adventure. There's a couple of those games that, for now, I'll get to enjoy PS4 and upgrade later, So.
You weren't going to buy a PlayStation 5 for Demon Souls, so that's not right up your alley. So it's not the end of the world launch-wise. And people do forget that launch lineups, besides Nintendo, they're not usually that strong. They're really not. I think Kotaku did an article on just Xbox launch lineups, and they compared all of them, and it turns out that this one's probably one of the better ones. And everyone looks at it saying it's one of the worst. But when it comes to timed exclusives and games that are coming out and stuff like that, not counting the remasters from the previous gen, it's probably one of the better ones, because we had 20 odd games, we had 30 odd games, but there was stuff like Shrek and really bad games back in the past that would launch just to launch, because they knew they'd sell, that people would buy this console and they'll just buy this game regardless, because it's a new console, I need to buy games. And sports games at launch time were pretty average as well. So I think Sony's made the right decision. I was always pretty adamant that Spider-Man was a PS4 game. It didn't make sense that it would only be PS5. It just didn't in my head. Horizon surprised me a lot.
That did surprise me too.
Late 2021. And then when I seen that, that's when we realized there was interviews, and he's saying we're going to support PlayStation for 3 to 4 years. I doubt it'll be 3 to 4 years. I'm banking on 2, just like Microsoft. And then 2022 onwards, we'll probably start seeing full exclusives for both consoles, and everyone will be happy.
That's normal.
You're not forced to rush out and buy a PlayStation 5 today. If you don't have money, there's no financial strain now. There's no one's forcing you. If you want to play Spider-Man pretty, do it. If you can find one, do it. We're all happy for you. But you should never, in my opinion stays, you should never have to be forced to buy a new piece of hardware by the software holding you back, because it's not true. Sony's just proven that you can make the game on both consoles.
And I promise this isn't a dig. There's only one example that I can think of, and that was the switch from OG Xbox to 360. I remember Xbox just going one day, we're not selling that anymore. Like, gone. Remove it from the shelves. Not interested. 360, it's all... And that shocked people at the time. It really, really shocked people. Now, you could play those games on your 360 anyway, so like it was
there was
a bigger deal. But it surprised me. They cut that arm off. Just like, nope, we're not developing for it anymore. Don't bother. Get rid of it. And that's very rare.
tradition, isn't it? That's pretty much been tradition. You hit this point where you just say, we're not doing this anymore. You have to buy this one. We are forcing you to buy this one. Mm. And it seems to me that Microsoft has forced Sony's hand. They really have.
I think so.
Not with Spider-Man. I still believe Spider-Man was always coming to PS4. I just do. I just did, because business-wise it didn't make sense. And it's still strange, their messaging around that. It's not clear and transparent to the fans. The fans should have known day dot that Spider-Man was coming to both consoles.
Yeah, but it makes you associate it with PS5.
It does. Right? It's marketing. It's marketing 101, and Sony are the best at it. They're better than Nintendo, and they're better. And Nintendo's been around a long time, and they're nasty, but Sony are better than Nintendo and Microsoft. They know how to market their products, and they do it well. And it's worked because people wanted a PlayStation 5 for Spider-Man.
The other controversy, I'll be curious to see what you think about this, that's obviously happened since the conference, is Sony has kind of confirmed that all of their games, their first-party games, are going to be boosted to 70 USD. All right, now, we've kind of talked about price before, and I think our general conclusion is we may not like it, but probably a price increase was probably due.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. So now that Sony's gone ahead and done it, that's probably an indication that a lot of these third parties are going to follow suit as well. I'd be curious to see what Microsoft do, because I know they're not pushing physical sales as much in terms of like, you need to buy the game brand new, you can get it from us on Game Pass. So I'll be curious to see how they go forward. But it has upset a lot of people. What's your thought?
I think if Microsoft did it, we probably wouldn't be discussing it. I think we'd forget about it. I think if we go into this next gen, and I did see Gears Tactics pop up for Series X at $60. It doesn't mean it won't change. It doesn't mean Microsoft won't change their mind and go, well, Sony's doing it, we'll do it. I think Microsoft being in the position they're in, they probably won't, because they're coming from behind. Sony, and we know it, we've seen it, they're just being arrogant. They're a market leader, they have the market share, and they're just being arrogant. They have released really good pricing for the consoles, and they're going to make that back with the software. I'm going to go on a limb and say they're losing money on the consoles.
It's probably likely. It's likely.
And they've just decided that if we do this $10 jump, we'll make the money back. And that's business. So we just accept it. We move on. It's not a bad thing. No one's going to... If it happens with third parties, I said this before, if it happens with third parties, that's huge. If you walk in and you've got two consoles, or you buy a Series S even as a second console, maybe people will buy third-party games for Xbox, not Sony, and they'll start losing money in that regard, because people don't want to fork out that extra 10 US, 25 Australian to buy the PlayStation version. I did see a few people say that, well, that's it. All my third-party games will be on Xbox now, and I will only be buying first-party exclusive games for PlayStation for two reasons: the pricing and the power. Again, the power's only going to matter to gamers, general consumers. They're not going to know that both consoles are... Microsoft's going to do well to be able to convince the general consumer that they've got a more powerful box, because they don't know. They're going to walk in and see the same price and think they both do the exact same thing as each other. So Sony's got to win there, in my opinion, as well. So pricing-wise, console, win. Software, loss for consumer, win for Sony. What's your opinion?
No, I think you've
kind of just
pretty much hit the nail on the head. Yeah. Like, honestly,
I mean, if you walk into a shop and you see, we'll say Perfect Dark comes out, Fable, and they're both sitting there, but The Last of Us Part 3 is another $30 more expensive than Fable. Are you going to feel a little bit gypped?
Yeah, but you're paying for quality, right? That's what you do.
It's hard to compare.
It's a luxury product.
When you got the competitor doing it differently, but again, they're going to be doing it differently for a reason. If they were selling 110 million copies, would we have Game Pass? Would we have $60 games? Would we have free games in Game Pass? Probably not. We'd have $70 games. They'd be doing the same thing Sony's doing.
I think I'm kind of with you, man. Like, I get it. I get the price hike.
We'll accept it.
I'm not a fan of it because I don't like spending that kind of money on a game, especially in Australia where we'll get the Aussie tax as well.
$125.
I know.
I did see Amazon had Spider-Man, which is... I don't agree in Spider-Man being $94.95. You've got to agree with me there.
No,
it's not a full-fledged game, but they're charging $94.95 for a 6-hour side mission game. That's harsh, even though it's because it's had the price hike on it. So instead of 40 US, it's 50 US. And then the collector's edition is 125, which makes sense with the pricing, but not for like. So what does that make Spider-Man 2 then? Does Spider-Man 2 have to be 150 bucks? Like, it's just confusing, isn't it? It's just a bit confusing. Yeah. But Amazon had it for 79. So how is that possible? How can eBay sell it for 94.95, but Amazon sell it for 79? 79. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's what we pay now, basically. Yeah.
We do. Yeah. It's usually 69, but yeah, I'm happy with 79. I'd pay 79 for Miles, especially if it comes with the remaster version. So that's another issue, separate issue. They probably need to fix that and clarify that. But I think in time we'll just accept it and move on.
It'll become the new
what
normal.
it is. It's common. This is routine now. You walk in, the price is this, and you just accept it. You look for sales. You try maybe
and that
get one online or something.
It might be the thing that saves the second-hand market a little bit, because GameStop's obviously having some trouble in the US at the moment with a bunch of their stores being closed. But if people can't afford these increased prices, then second-hand is where they're going to go. Yeah. So you never know. It could end up saving them a little.
We've seen that kind of dying off lately, haven't we? Because of digital sales. So.
But you were saying, which was really interesting, you said that in Australia, for the PS5, the disc drive version is the one that's sold out.
Everywhere.
People can still get the digital version, which is really interesting. That's not what I figured would happen.
I thought the digital would sell really well, price point, etc., but it seems, and it's probably hard to judge because we've probably got a lot of scalpers out there going for the disc version because it's going to jet them more money. And unfortunately, it's pretty much been confirmed that most of the consoles were caught by bots. So people have bots that get online and shop for them, and they're not literally sitting there waiting. It's just set up on their computer to go and buy a PlayStation 5, and they buy 10, they buy 6, they buy as many as they can with this bot, and they will put them on eBay and they will make money on them. So
scumbags.
It's not somebody sitting there, yes, I've got one, I can sell it. They're not even at home. They're at work doing their job, and the computer's doing it for them. So it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yes.
And I guess that comes into the next topic as well, the pre-ordering. So in an interview, Sony, out of all of it, this is probably the most disappointing, to be honest. Like, I can accept the $70 games. I'll just deal with that. That's fine. The PS4 thing, I'm for that. I'm happy. So that's not a bad thing for me. The messaging behind it was a bit, but I'm happy they've made that decision. But to say we're going to give you ample time to pre-order our console, have this showcase, and then all of a sudden it just popped up all over the world for pre-order at different times, and so many people have missed out for Christmas. Some of
the things I heard was that, so obviously Sony initially were asking people to register their interest, and they would be contacted ahead of time.
That was just on the website. So,
and they didn't get their emails until after they went live. Yeah. And the thing that I saw, and maybe you saw the same thing, was Sony said, okay, they're going out in 24 hours. And then Walmart went, basically, screw you, Sony. We've got them now. Pre-order it now. And then other companies followed. And people just were in a panic, and they couldn't get to them on time. And by the time they got to try and pre-order it, they were sold out, and you can't get them now. And so I feel like a lot of people are going to feel left out. They're going to feel ripped off. There's going to be this huge.
If this was me and I was really excited for a PlayStation 5, I would be hurt right now.
Yeah.
This company didn't care, and I don't want to compare again, but have you seen how Microsoft's done it?
Well, yeah, they released a tweet just sort of being super duper clear that they're releasing the pre-orders open at this date, and it'll be at this price,
this time, at these retailers, and no one's allowed to do it earlier. And I assume that's exactly how Sony was going to do it. So I don't know what went wrong.
Well, I don't know enough information,
just
but it sounds like that wasn't quite Sony's fault. That was the retailers who released everything early.
It's Sony retailers. That's the thing. So when I worked at JB Hi-Fi, if I did something towards Sony that they didn't want me to do, they fined us $5,000.
Yeah.
So they own us. Sony owns. Nintendo owned EB. No other company would get a collector's edition but EB Games. And that was because EB agreed to never, ever, ever break embargo on their games. So if we broke embargo on a game, we would get a $5,000 fine, and they would withhold stock. They would not send us any more stock. So it's 100% on Sony because Sony controls the retailers. They can
Okay.
say if you do
You
this,
say that. Hang on, hang
we're
on,
not
hang on,
giving.
hang
They
on.
can.
You
They
say
can
that.
give them stock.
But it was quite fun actually because you probably remember this as well. But during lockdown in Australia, around the same time, there were some big games being released. So there was like Final
Yeah.
Fantasy VII being released. There was Animal Crossing being released. And I remember, and Resident Evil 3 was the other one that you and I were just like, come on, break embargo, break embargo. EB broke the street date by a week for Final Fantasy VII, didn't they? It was a whole week early. They just did it.
They were given the green light.
Oh, were they? Okay, I was going to say because I remember
I
people rushing out to get it,
I deep
even though
dived.
there was a pandemic. Yeah.
I deep dived, and basically, Capcom told all retailers that they sell Resident Evil 3. Not that it didn't. Some places accidentally did, or some people do break embargoes, but it tends to be a personally owned shop, not a big retailer. They'll just break. I know one locally, and I get my games early all the time. And I'm not going to mention it, but I can. He breaks embargo all the time. And he only does it, not to everyone, he just does it to people he can trust. And in saying that, sometimes he imports stock. So he's not breaking embargo because he's selling American stock. You can't get in trouble for that. Capcom pretty much said to every retailer in Australia, if you sell Resident Evil 3 early, we will fine you. Plain and simple. So Square and all that, they basically, EB Games pretty much said, no, we did not break embargo. We got an email from head office saying sell.
Okay.
So head office.
But did they technically break the date of the pre-orders for PS5? EB.
Technically, they probably did. I'd say everybody
must have. They must have.
Unless somebody in America did, and then Sony just said, "Shit, go." We might find out later on down the track. But why didn't Sony have a specific, like, look how much time we've got from Microsoft? When they announced the price, they said this is the date you can pre-order. But they've announced the price, and they're like, why can't we pre-order? Why would you do it straight after your conference? Wouldn't it give people time? There's going to be people out there didn't even know the conference was on.
No, exactly.
Not everybody's on the internet.
I know Sony have since said that, don't worry, there's going to be more available at launch than the PS4 launch.
Well,
but I don't believe that.
Rumors of them not having stock seem to be true because they sold out too quick. They sold out way too quick. I got messages from friends today. Hey, bro, when can I get a PS5? Because they don't. It's a female, but she's got kids, but she doesn't get online. She doesn't watch these conferences like we do. And I had to tell her they're sold out. She's not happy.
No,
she's not happy at all.
The average consumer would not have been on it like that. There's no way. There's no way. So
it's not Sony's fault they broke. No, I won't say it's their fault they broke, but it's their fault for not having a clear set plan and date later than the conference.
Agreed.
Get in before, what are we, 18th today? They could have said 20th. On the 20th, you can pre-order at this time. So it's not the end of the world. People will get it next year. It's just a gaming console. But the messaging has been a bit rough from Sony, so to speak. It's been, and people are comparing it to the PS3. They're comparing the PlayStation 5 to the PS3 launch, but it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
It's just some mixed messaging, and I'm sure come Christmas, we're not even going to be talking about this stuff.
No.
Stock will come. Xbox, I don't know if Xbox is going to sell out. I don't know if there's that much demand for Xbox. We don't know how many consoles they've made. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll be gone pretty much straight away as well, and everybody's going to be in the same boat. But at least people know to get up at 7:30 on the 22nd and get ready to get on the phone or camp outside in their camping bags, which people do at their stores. I did hear some stores are going online stock and in-store stock, so they're not going to sell all their stock online. They are going to give people a chance to line up physically at their store to pre-order stock. And I think that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Online only is not fair because of bots. We know that. So if scalpers are getting keen enough to line up for a few hours, then good on them. But hopefully people will get some Xboxes, and if this PlayStation's all sold out, people might just get an Xbox anyway because they can't get a PlayStation.
Or they'll just go to Switch.
They might, yeah. I mean, if they got stock, they just got some.
I think they're finally coming back in, yeah.
2 weeks ago. It's been crazy. They would have sold so much if they had them on the shelves.
I know. It took them by COVID took them by surprise.
Everybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you guys think? So we've obviously discussed some of the drama that came after the conference, looking at the new pricing, looking at some of the pre-order debacles, the PS5 games actually coming to PS4. How do you feel about this? Do you think this is good stuff? Do you think that this is a sort of a knock on Sony, really? Why don't you let us know in the comments below?
Yep. I think it's all going to blow over pretty soon, and I'm happy that I can play Spider-Man on my PlayStation 4. And let's just enjoy our games and have fun, and hopefully we'll get some more Xbox news soon, and we can talk about that and compare some launch lineups, and maybe even go over our launch. We're talking about doing a discussion video about our launch memories. So maybe you can tell us about some of your launch memories, or get prepared for when we have ours later on down the track.
Sounds
Alrighty,
good.
guys.
Can't wait, guys.
Take
See you
care.
later.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.